Greetings. This is Doc Ock coming to you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central once again. We hope everybody's doing real fine. If you're listening to us, then you should be fine as wine in the summertime. And it is definitely summer today. I just came in from outside and it's quite toasty out there. But lucky for me, I didn't go out until the sun was going down and then started to do my thing. But it's looking real good. We should have our deck should be, well, we'll finish it by the end of the summer. But we're going to take it slow, one step at a time, try not to hurt nobody, especially myself. Yes, that would be important. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and do our thing. You know what we need you to do. Give us a like if you're watching on Facebook. Give us a thumbs up if you're on the tube. And then, most importantly of all, go ahead and spread the word far and wide, near and far, high and low, all over the land about what we're doing here at Black Facts. Yes, spread the word. Spread the word. Okay, now we got a short proverb here today. Very, very short proverb. Not from Ethiopia. The proverb is, time destroys all things. Time destroys all things. Very interesting little proverb there. Not sure exactly what they mean by that, but it's open for interpretation. So do your best on your quest to not be like all the rest. Oh, let me tell you where it's from. I believe that one's from it's either Niger or Nigeria. And so we got the Nigerian proverb today, and we're continuing on reading from our book, The Words of Althea Gibson on Althea Gibson. I always wanted to be somebody. And trust and believe this is some valuable information that we're sharing right here today, because this book is quite expensive. It was expensive when I bought it, which is why I got this little bitty, teeny tiny version of the book that had pages taped back together and everything, because it was just that expensive. I couldn't afford to get the high quality kind of volumes that I usually like to get. But nevertheless, the words are all here. So let's see what Althea had to say. Okay. So Althea, at this time, she's living in New York City and really enjoying life. Enjoying life without strife in the big city. Yes. And so she does what she wants to do. She does it when she wants to do it. She does it how she wants to do it. And can't nobody tell Althea nothing, including her mom and her dad. No matter how hard he tries, he ends up having to acquiesce to whatever it is that Althea wants to do, because she's gonna do what she's gonna do. Now let's see if I can get this slideshow operating properly here. See what happens. I'm gonna let it go for a second. There we go. Now let's see if it'll keep on doing what it's supposed to do. See if it'll keep on doing what it's supposed to do. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and switch gears here so you can see the slideshow. And it's all about Althea and Juneteenth. You know, that's what we're celebrating right about now. We're celebrating Juneteenth for the whole month of June. And there you go. If you've been watching, you know that Althea and her family started her life on a cotton plantation. Okay? And yeah, her dad and mom were some cotton pickers. But now she's in the city and playing hooky from school all the time. It was a habit she never lost. Later on, when she was older, my friends and I, I'm reading this as she wrote it, and I used to regard school as just a good place to meet and make our plans for what we would do all day. But when I was young, the teachers used to try to change me. Sometimes they would even spank me right in the classroom, but it didn't make any difference. I'd play hooky again the next day. Daddy would whip me too, and I'm not talking about spankings. He would whip me good with a strap on my bare skin. Yeah, those one of them old time whippings. And there was nothing funny about it. Sometimes I would be scared to go home, and I would go to the police station on 135th Street in Harlem and tell them that I was afraid to go home because my father was going to beat me up. The first time I did it, the first time I did it, the cops let me stay there for about an hour. Shoot, this thing wants to act up again. I don't know why it does it sometimes. Sometimes this thing gets stuck on absolute stupid, and it just don't want to do what I want it to do. Un momentito. Let me just transit out of this here for a second. See if I can get this thing to operate properly. Because that is not what it's supposed to be doing. It's supposed to be doing like this. And then now, let's see if it'll work now. Go back to the transition. Okay, now let's see if it'll work. Okay, it's looking better anyway. All right, now, the first time I did it, the cops let me stay there for about an hour. And then they called Mom and told her to come and get me. But she was afraid to go. She didn't want any part of police stations. Hello. So finally, the desk sergeant sent a young cop over to the house to ask her, "Don't you want your daughter? Don't you want her?" I got it good that night. If I had gone to school once in a while, as I was supposed to, Daddy wouldn't have minded my being a tomboy at all. In fact, I'm convinced that he was disappointed when I was born that I wasn't a boy. He wanted a son. So he always treated me like one, right from when I was a little tot in Carolina, and we used to shoot marbles in the dirt road with acorns for marbles. He claims I used to beat him all the time, but seeing that I was only about 3 years old, that's hard to believe. I think he's stretching it a bit. One thing that's the flat out truth, though, is when he says he wanted me to be a prize fighter, he really did. It was when I was in junior high school, like maybe 12 or 13 years old, and he'd been reading a lot about professional bouts between women boxers. Sort of like the women's wrestling they have in some parts of the country today. Women's boxing is illegal at the time she's writing this book. But in those days, it wasn't. Daddy wanted to put me in for it. It would have been big, he says. You would have been the champion of the world. You were big and strong and you could hit. I know it doesn't sound very ladylike coming from a girl, but I could fight too. Daddy taught me to punch, and I had the right feeling for it. I was tough. I wasn't afraid of anybody, not even him. He says himself that when he would whip me, I would never cry, not even if it killed me. I would just sit there and look at him. I wouldn't sass him back or anything, but neither would I give him the satisfaction of crying. He would be doing all the hitting and all the talking, and I guess after a while, it must have seemed like a terrible waste of time. He liked our boxing lessons better. He would say, "Put up your dukes, put them up." And I had to get ready to defend myself, or I would take an even worse beating. He would box with me for an hour at a time, showing me how to punch, how to jab, how to block punches, how to use footwork. He did a good job on me, maybe too good. I remember one day he got mad at me for not coming home for a couple of nights. and he didn't waste any time going for the strap. When I finally showed up, he just walked up to me and punched me right in the face and knocked me sprawling down the hall. I got right back up and punched him as hard as I could right in the jaw. And we had a pretty good little fight going. We weren't fooling around either. Daddy weighs about 190 pounds. He's fond of saying, I can take any one man. Maybe a gang could take me out. But one man, that's not going to happen. If I give him one punch, he ain't going to bother me anymore. But I took a shot at him just the same. Of course, once he got the idea of my boxing professionally out of his head, all Daddy was trying to do, aside from teach me right from wrong, was to make sure I would be able to protect myself. Harlem is a mean place to grow up in. There's always somebody to bother you, no matter how much you want to mind your own business. If Daddy hadn't shown me how to look out for myself, I would have got into a lot of fights that I would have lost, and I would have been pretty badly beaten up a lot of times. Sometimes in a tough neighborhood where there's no way for a kid to prove himself except by playing games and fighting, you got to let them know you can look out for yourself before they will leave you alone. That's the truth. If you think they're helpless, if they think you're helpless, they will all look to build up their own reputations by beating up on you. I learned always to get in the first punch. Except for the fights I got into and playing hooky all the time, I didn't get into much serious trouble when I was a kid or do anything very bad. I guess about the worst thing we did was snitch little packages of ice cream while we were walking through the big stores like the 5 and 10, or pieces of fruit while we were walking past the stand on the street. I remember once a gang of us decided we would snitch some sweet potatoes for roasting. Yeah. And I strolled past the stand and coolly lifted one. Once I had it though, I couldn't resist the impulse to run. And a cop who was standing on the corner got curious and grabbed me for good luck. He had me cold. I had that daggone sweet potato right in my hand. I'd have run if I could, but he had a death grip on my arm and he dragged me over to the police call box and made like he was going to call for the wagon to come and get me. I was scared. I begged him to let me go. I swore I'd be a good girl for the whole rest of my life. Finally, he said he would give me a break, and he took me over to the stand and made me put back the sweet potato, and then he let me go. But when I walked around the corner and found the rest of the girls I'd been with, they dared me to go back and get it again. And I was just bold enough to take the dare. I got it too and got away clean, and we went and built a fire on an empty lot in the next block and roasted it. Sometimes we used to go across the 145th Street Bridge to the Bronx Terminal Market, that where they sell whole freight cars full of fruits and vegetables to the dealers. That was a snitcher's heaven. They used to stack rejects off to one side, stuff that the dealers wouldn't accept, and we'd sneak in with empty baskets and try to fill them up before they spotted us and come after us. Sometimes I'd get a whole basket full of overripe bananas and peaches, wilted lettuce and soft tomatoes, and we'd really stuff ourselves. Once, I carried a whole watermelon in my hands over that bridge. Like I said, we never got in any real trouble. We were just mischievous. I think one good thing was that I never joined any of those so-called social clubs that they've always had in Harlem. None of my girlfriends did either. We didn't care for all that drinking and drug using and all that other stuff they were doing in those clubs, and we didn't care for the holdups that they turned to sooner or later in order to get money for the things they were doing. I didn't like to go to school, but I had no interest in going to jail either. Mostly, my best girlfriend, Alma Irving, and I like to play hooky and spend the day in the movies, especially on Friday when they had a big stage show at the Apollo Theater on 125th Street. Alma liked to play basketball too, almost as much as I did. She was a good basket shooter, and we'd spend hours in the park shooting for Cokes or hot dogs. At night, we used to go to the school gymnasium and challenge anybody, boy or girl, man or woman, to play us in what we used to call 2-on-2. We'd use just one basket and see which team could score the most baskets on the other. We played hard, and when we got finished, we'd go to a cheap restaurant and get a plate of turnip greens and rice, or maybe if we had a little extra money, a hamburger, steak, or fried chicken and French fried potatoes. In those days, of course, you could get a big plate of food like that for only 35 cents. Fish and chips were only 15 cents, and soda was a nickel a quart. If you brought your own can, you could buy big sweet potatoes, we called them Mickeys, for a couple of cents a piece, and they tasted awfully good, roasted over an open fire, made out of broken up fruit crates that we picked up in the alleyway behind the A&P. Now I realize how poor we were in those days and how little we had, but it didn't seem so bad then. How could you feel sorry for yourself when soda was a nickel a quart? Come on now. You know that's the deal. If you like soda. I don't drink soda, but I'm just saying, if I did, a nickel a quart, that's cheap. Can't beat that with a stick. So that's the end of the first chapter. In the book, I Always Wanted to Be Somebody by none other than Althea Gibson. Althea Gibson, the tennis star, the first African American to ever win Wimbledon. Right, to ever win Wimbledon, male or female. And so that's one of the things that makes Althea Gibson a straight up trailblazing woman. Now, we're going to end our presentation right here. And I'm going to ask for all you little children out there to do one little thing for me. If you could just go ahead and lay your little head on your little pillow, on your little bed, close those your eyes. Wait for that sun to rise. And when you feel those sunbeams beaming down on your eyes, you know that it's time for you to rise and shine, oh children of mine. And that's what I need all of y'all to be getting ready to do right about now. Just turn it down, turn them lights off, turn off all your little electronic devices, and get a little nap. Get a little rest. Get a little rest. So you'll be ready for the new day. And in the meanwhile, for all you adults out there, you know what we need you to do. Go ahead, give us a like if you're watching on Facebook. Give us a thumbs up if you're watching on the tube, which is where you really should be. And then go ahead and become a sustaining member of the Black Facts family. It's easy to do. Go to our website, blakfacts.org. That's where you'll find me. If you can't remember all that, just look below in the description on YouTube and you'll see our address. Click it and that'll take you right to our homepage. Click the button in the right-hand corner. That'll take you to the donate page. Okay, and you can go ahead and make your donation. We're looking for recurring donations, if you would. 5, 10, 15, 20, all of it's good money. But if you can do it as a recurring donation, it means that we then have an income that we can depend on so we can keep collecting new and better stories for you and putting together these slideshows. We would like to do more with the slides and with videos that we have as well, but we need time, and time is money. Money is time. So in order to have the time, we need a little cash flow. So let that cash flow, because we know you got just a little bit of dough. It don't take much. You can donate as well on Facebook. If you're on your phone, go to your notifications. If you're on your laptop or your iPad, look right below all of our live streams and you'll see a donate button there or link there. If you don't see the link there, just click our profile with the coins next to it. And that'll take you to a link where you can donate there as well. Meanwhile, this is Doc Ock at noon and 9 signing off. Peace with justice, because anything less disgusts us. We'll see you tomorrow. Continuing on with the story of another woman, another great woman, Winnie Mandela. That's right, from coast to coast without a boast. We're going to toast you in New York, and we're going to toast you in Joburg as well. Well, actually, she's in Brantford because right now she is a banned woman, or the time that she wrote the book, Winnie Mandela had been banned. Yes, and we'll tell you all about that tomorrow at noon. Doc Ock at noon and 9. Catch it.